What is up, maniacs, and welcome back to Broadened Horizon. I'm your host, Drake Riggs, here with episode 35, the first of 2024. The Ryzen calendar for the year is already taking shape, and to help us kick things off are two of Ryzen 45's big winners, as well as a debutante at one of the upcoming events. Joining us first will be the UFC and Bellator veteran Vince Morales, who pulled off a big upset win over Yuki Mitoya at bantamweight via unanimous decision at Ryzen 45. After Morales, we'll speak with the atomweight newcomer out of South Korea. It's the returning former Road FC champion, YuRi Shim. She'll be welcomed to the Ryzen ring by Reina Kubota at Ryzen 46 on March 23rd. And closing things out, we have one of the surging featherweight contenders, Suguru Nii, to recap his vicious knockout of Satoshi Yamasu on New Year's Eve. Thanks as always to our great guests for chatting, and thanks to everyone who supports the show, whether you've been watching on MMAmania.com, YouTube, or listening on Spotify. Thanks as always, and don't forget to hit like and share if you enjoy. And kicking things off, it's Vince Morales. Well, happy Thursday, man. How's it going?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, a real Thursday now. I thought Thursday was
right.
Yesterday.
Yeah,
going good, man. Just a busy day today.
Awesome, and quite the setup you got here, man. Got your own shows? What's going on?
Yeah, so I run a podcast with my cousin Ricky Simone. We do some things in here. I actually use the office for a lot of my video editing for my YouTube and stuff, and I play some video games in here. So
good deal, man. Yeah, always impressed when I see the fighters got their own setup. So looks nice spot you got.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, man, of course. And I know, has it been tough, like readjusting to the time zones and all that? Like, when did you get back?
I got back last Wednesday, and like the first few days, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be cake." Like, I didn't sleep much on the flight, so I was tired enough when the right time hit when I got home. But like, I guess internally I was still on like Japan time. So
right.
Like, the last few days I've been a little wonky. Like I was up till 2 a.m. last night. I was up at 6 a.m. this morning. Like it's just all over the place.
Yeah, I know that could always be kind of the toughest part, and especially when the more time you spend there and you try and plan it out, you can't really plan it out, man.
Yeah, it's difficult, but I'll be all right.
Yeah, for sure. And it was definitely worthwhile. I mean, congrats on the great win, great performance, man. Just awesome stuff. I mean, especially beating a guy like Yuki. But I want to talk about like just Japan in general and the Ryzen experience overall, like the whole thing. Obviously, you spent extra time there, getting back recently, like you said. But just tell me about it, man. Like, how was it? Was that your first time in Japan? Like, what was all this like for you? Probably overwhelming.
Extremely overwhelming. The first few days I was there, I had like a lot of sensory overload. Like, I was a little more quiet than usual.
Yeah.
And there was just so much going on constantly. It was a lot to take in. I'm from a little town of like 10,000 people. So going to the most populated country in the world, basically, like it was a little overwhelming. Like it's so densely populated, and like just getting on the train, everybody's like touching shoulders, and it was just, there was a lot going on. But overall it was great, man. I've been wanting to go to Japan for years now. My fiance is Japanese and from Japan, and we've talked about it for years. And when the possibility kind of came up, just did everything to make sure that I could go and make the most of it. And we did. I was there for roughly 6 weeks, but I had a little break in the middle of it to come back and take care of some visa stuff. And then I hopped on a plane right back. But yeah, just the whole time I was there, super welcoming. I can't wait to make another trip back. Honestly, it was great. The food was awesome. It's the best food in the world. Doesn't matter what kind I was getting. It was all good.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah. I mean, so many things to see, so much to do, like outside of obviously the fight experience. Like, is there a highlight for you in terms of the stuff you were doing outside of the fight stuff?
Oh man, we did so much. We did we went and did this like brick breaking. I can't remember what they call it. It's like dim bach or something like that. We just we stacked up some tiles and broke them, and just seeing how many we could do. That was a kind of,
well, how many
experience.
did you get?
I think I got 20. I had the second most. Somebody got 21. But yeah, out of our little crew, like they were kind of surprised because I was one of the smaller ones, so it was nice.
There you go.
That was cool. That was real fun. Man, we did so much. It's so hard just to think of just the one things here and there. We went and checked out like Shibuya, which the Shibuya crossing.
Right.
If you've seen videos of it, it's just this giant crosswalk where every 3 minutes it's completely packed, and then cars are just going right through with no problem, and then it's completely packed again. It was a little overwhelming, and thankfully I wasn't the only person holding up a camera trying to capture it all, so I didn't feel too extra touristy. But that was a unique thing. I've never seen anything quite like that. Man, just getting a feel for like the architecture and the way they do their buildings over there. No
Mhm.
two buildings look the same. It'll go from one giant building to a little house to a smaller medium building with like a bunch of food places in it to another giant office building. I was like, what is going on? There's like no consistency, but
Right.
it worked, and it was interesting. The traffic lines are more like suggestive guidelines. Like if there's people walking, people easily cross over the line and then get right back into their
Mm.
lane, and everybody's just kind of there's minimal honking, and everybody just kind of lets everybody situate themselves. It's very like
Flow a
a
little bit.
yeah, it's very organic in the way the traffic and the flows with the pedestrians and the
Hmm.
other vehicles. It was crazy. And then checked out a couple shrines. We got to just walk around, and every day I was walking to the gym and trying to stop at like a new place to eat every time.
Right.
So about halfway through, I started getting worried about my weight because I was heavier than I ever
Yeah.
than I normally ever am at that point of camp. So I had to get that under control. But man, it was so cool. And we went to like the Yokohama Mall. There was just this gigantic mall that it blew me away just being in there. It looked like it never stopped. Man, it was
Yeah.
just one thing after another. It's so hard to like. I'm gonna have to go back through my videos because
I
I
know.
recorded everything. Thankfully, because my memory sucks.
Right.
So yeah, I recorded everything just to try to capture it. And yeah, that was a kind of a once in a lifetime experience, is what it felt like.
Totally, man. I can imagine. I'm glad you got to experience something like that because, again, not many people get to. And I mean, just the fighting on New Year's Eve part alone, like, forget everything else you just said, but like, just that part of it, that's a dream come true for so many fighters because of how
Yeah.
special that Japan and, Rise and Sakibara, all these people have kind of made this tradition of these events. So, like, I got to know when you first got kind of the call and just the opportunity of being like, all right, not just like getting to fight in Ryzen in Japan is cool, but I get to make my debut on New Year's Eve. Like, were you tripping at that possibility?
I'm still tripping on
Yeah.
that. It was insane. So at first, with I went out there to train with Kai Asakura
Hmm.
and prep him for Juan Archuleta, along with my wrestling coach Billy.
Hmm.
Shout out to him, by the way. That's a great coach, and I
Of
think
course.
he's making the move over there, so he loved it that
All
much.
right.
Um, and Kai's negotiation with me basically was like they were gonna pay me for my time, and he's like, well, what if I can get you a fight over here? I was like, I would love to.
Hmm.
So they were trying to get me situated on a deep card, and then like a week later, they're like, what about Ryzen? I'm like, what do you mean, what about
Yeah.
Ryzen?
Yeah.
Like sign me up. Like, are you kidding me? I was like, I was already gonna be there. I might as well be fighting. And yeah, thankfully that worked out. For a while, I wasn't real sure if it was gonna work out just because um, a few things like there was a visa issue that I ran into in the middle of it. I didn't really get like an official contract until roughly 2 weeks out,
Oh, wow.
but we'd been training for it for like 8 weeks is basically what the camp was. So um, 3 quarters of camp, I was training without for sure knowing if I was going to be fighting. Like we had an opponent and everything, but it just wasn't. It's different once you sign the contract,
Right.
and that part was just right towards the end. So I wasn't trying to get my hopes up too high,
Hmm.
just because I don't know. I don't like to fall too hard if I
Of
get
course. Of
disappointed.
course.
So
Totally.
I was protecting myself a little bit in that, but I was just trying to enjoy the experience, and then the fact that I can cap off the entire thing with a a good performance on the biggest card of the year. I think worldwide, really. After looking at the crowd there, because from the opening bell to the final bell, that thing was packed. It
Hmm.
was sold out, and I'm getting goosebumps again.
Yeah.
That was it was really a dream come true for me.
Oh yeah, man. It's always I kind of equate it to like the Super Bowl of MMA, especially when they kind of get people together like Bellator the last couple of years and whatnot. Like
Mm.
it just has that feel to it. It's a great way to cap off things. And man, I mean, especially for you and the win over Yuki, like I said, for in my books, I would say like, and I want to know what you think, of course, but I think that was the best you ever looked, man. It was so great, and especially when you look at who you beat, like Yuki Matoya is no joke, complete veteran of the game, especially everybody in Japan knows him, but
Mm.
very talented guy and. I don't want to say you made it look easy, but very comfortable victory, right, man? Like, how do you feel about this win looking back on it? How happy are you with it, like, just having been in there with him?
Oh well, I appreciate that. First off, right as soon as I got out of the ring, I was gunning for a finish so bad. I think that's one reason it didn't really materialize
Mm.
because I was kind of forcing it. I think, but I know he was a quality opponent, but I think I trained very hard, and
Mhm.
and I really feel like I've grown a lot in the last like man, just this year since getting released from the UFC, honestly. And I really, I feel within my soul that I'm one of like the best fighters out there, and I'm just looking for the right way to show that and really do that. And the best way to do that is to get in there and fight. So
Mhm.
that was a goal with this one, is just to get in there and let things go, and whatever happens happens. And so regardless of me trying to force a finish or not, I was in there and I was down for a fight, and he was too, because I
Yeah.
really thought I was going to be able to get him out of there. Especially, I heard him a couple times in the first, I heard him again in
Yeah.
the second, and he had his best round in the third round. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, man, he's a tough dude. So looking back at it now, like knowing the quality of opponent he was and the guys that he's beat already, and he had the moniker of like the UFC killer or something like that because he beat a few UFC guys. Um, yeah, it feels good to be able to pull off a win like that, and I think I opened the eyes to a lot of fans over in Japan. Like a quarter of my following is now Japanese fans, so I appreciate them greatly because I think it was a good showing on my end as far as my determination to really have a fight and make it a fight. I still think I can do better. I shouldn't have gotten taken down like that. I got a little flat-footed sometimes. I think I should have settled on some power shots a little bit more often. I'm still That's just the competitor I am. I'm fairly
Own worst
critical of my
critic, right?
performance.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's just so be it. I take what's good from it. I feel good about it, but I notice the things I can improve on, and I really put my focus into that so that the next go around I can be even better. So this thing's all about growth for me.
Yeah, man. And you know what's up? It's so unique like this. I'm curious, like, how was it preparing for the rule set? Obviously, I'm sure working with Kai and kind of the prep that you did helped out a whole bunch, and especially when he had fought Yuki in his fight right before. So, like,
Yep.
how helpful was kind of all that stuff in preparation?
It was great. Made me just feel confident going into it. I wasn't too worried about like whether or not I was gonna get soccer kicked or need. Like it's part of it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. There's just a few more things to take note of. Like I'll be all right. It's a fight. I was more worried with whether or not I was gonna be able to do it, and I wanted to so bad, and I forgot. Like I ended up in a front headlock at the end of the fight,
Oh,
and
that
we
would
had
have been a
been
moment.
yeah, we've been talking about it. Like, if we get there, don't be afraid to throw some knees. I'm like, yeah, of course, of course. And in my brain, I'm like, duh.
Yeah.
And then I get there and I'm like, oh, cool, Peruvian. Whatever.
That was a
So
sick moment, though, man. I will tell
yeah,
you.
it was kind of cool. And like I felt like I had already done enough damage too. I didn't need to cause some extra damage at that point with 10 seconds left. But I don't know. I still would have liked. I didn't get my fix for throwing one of them
Yeah.
like a soccer kick or a knee to on the grounded opponent. So I don't know. Maybe next time we'll see.
Yes, exactly, exactly. But man, I'm curious though about like the connection with Kai because obviously he's the champ now, so big congrats to him too. But like, how did that like materialize in the first place? And of course, I got to get your thoughts on his win. Another great performance. I mean, another knee. The guy has just got insane precision. But like, how has it been working with him, and how it came together in the first place?
Yeah, Kai's the man. He's I consider him like a really good friend of mine, especially after all this. He did everything to make sure that I was taken well care of in Japan. He went above and beyond, if you ask me. I was wanting him to do less, like he's doing too much.
Right.
But that's just the kind of person he is, and I think he sets a good example of that. And he's kind of the leader for their team. And I can't think of anybody that could be a better representation for Japan top team than Kai. I met him. He did a couple trips to the U.S. and trained at Syndicate and
Mhm.
Extreme and stuff. But yeah, we started training at Syndicate, and right, like I didn't know of him at first, but I was like, oh, this guy reminds me of like a Japanese me. Like we had like a kind of similar approach, and I could see the things he's setting up, and he wasn't letting me get away with my setups. I'm like, this guy's interesting. And then we kind of just hit it off and became kind of like consistent training partners while he was here. And then yeah, sure enough, he got in contact with my wrestling coach because they hit it off as well, and they needed another good training partner to come out there and help prep for Juan. So I was like, let's go, dude, sign
Mhm.
me up.
Perfect, man. Yeah, it's a pretty cool story, and of course, not a bad guy to train with and get close with, as he's doing very well. But I gotta wonder then, kind of with that in mind, Vince. Like, first of all, I want to know where you think like this win puts you in the division because obviously a great spot. Like I said, Yuki's kind of always floating around the top and rising and whatnot, and now going out there beating him, continuing your winning streak and stuff. I'm assuming maybe one more before a title shot or something, but of course he's the guy now. So would you be open if that happens? Like I'm sure you want to be champ too, but it's always a tricky spot when it's somebody you're close with.
Yeah, if that's difficult. Like if Kai's champ, I'm not champ. Like
Right.
I would never like if somebody were, and I don't think they can because I think he's cream of the crop over there. He's the best they got. I think
Mhm.
he's world class. Uh, if somebody does end up beating him or he vacates the belt or something, like sign me up. I'll put me in there for a title fight. But until then, they got to deal with him,
Yeah.
and then I'll be the gatekeeper if I have to. Like I'll fight everybody right below. I don't know. I'm not too sure where that puts me. It seems like I've got a lot of good feedback from them. I think they want to negotiate and maybe get me back for a fight come May or something like
Hmm.
that. We'll see. I think my options are pretty open right now.
Yeah.
I think I've got some good eyes on me. I think I've done all the right things that was needed from me from when I got released from the UFC to get back. I kind of met the stipulations, if you will, of how to get back. So
Hmm.
I think I made a decently strong case for myself. If I got to do more, I mean, I'm down for that too. Wherever this takes me, like I'm kind of down for it. That's kind of always been my approach. I mean, if it leads me back to the UFC, then great. If it leads me to Ryzen Championship, and that's great too.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure I can take care of my family and set us up good for the future.
Of course, man. Of course, can't beat that. And I mentioned the winning streak, right? Like, got three together now here, and like all going good, looking better with each fight, as I mentioned too. But like, what would you say has been kind of the secret to the winning streak? I mean, we could point out the blonde is one thing I'm sure helps a little bit, but well,
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
that highlights it for
I think
you,
it might
man.
stay around for the next few
Yeah.
fights. We'll see.
Anything
Man,
specific?
I'm trying to think. I think when I got released, I knew why I got released. Whether or not I felt like a few of my fights in the UFC were kind of poor decisions. That part being irrelevant, I think I didn't perform how I know and how I should be performing. So trying to get to that. I think I spent a lot of my fights in the UFC fighting not to lose, trying to
Mm.
make sure I get my full paycheck. There were just some other factors that I think were driving me, and I don't want to say stressing me out, but I'm carrying the weight of those more than they need to be. Um, a lot of those are the byproduct of what we do in there. So I just try to be a little more free and let myself fight and not be so cumbersome and worried about like
Get in your head
what
a
may
little
happen
bit.
or if I,
Yeah.
if I fall behind, how am I going to get out of that? Like, and that's what fighting is. If we fall behind, we fight to get back ahead, and that's all it is. So like this has been my kind of outside test of fighting to get back to where I need to be, and I think mentally, it's showing in my training, it's showing in my fights, and I think the people that support me are seeing a difference too. Whether or not that's exactly what the difference is, I don't know. I'm just trusting it and running with it. Just trying to get out of my own way, really.
Mm. Yeah, man. And so, like, I mean, with all that in mind too, it's kind of always tricky to reflect, but I'm sure you've thought about like those moments, reflecting on the UFC run and stuff, and of course, it's leading you to be better now and kind of fighting, like you said right there. But I don't know, when you do look back at it as a whole, are you like kind of happy in a way because of what it's turning into now, or is there still like, of course, it sucks to have kind of gone through the lows and whatnot, but in the end, bringing you back up, like just how do you kind of put it in a vacuum, I guess, for the UFC stint?
It's hard to get like real high on things without have been being real low.
Yeah.
So every time I hit one of those lows, I got a lot of trust in the process and in myself, and I trust the work that I put in, and I trust the coaching around me, and I trust the people around me that care about me and see me doing what I love, and I put a lot of faith in that too, just doing what I love, and I think eventually that's going to take care of me in some sort of way. So yeah, I try not to get too low about it. I acknowledge it because I do want to feel it. Like I think it's important to be able to acknowledge and feel those. But I definitely don't want to hide from it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I take it for what it is, and I focus on what I'm doing now that's going to affect my future because that's the only thing that I really can do. So here we are.
Yeah, man. Motivation, control what you can control, that kind of thing. So
Exactly.
just keep on pushing. And you're no stranger to kind of these big promotions at this point now, Vince. I think a lot of people maybe miss or forget that you had the Bellator fights too. So undefeated in Bellator. Well, they're still
Yeah.
around for now, but I just kind of wanted to ask you about that because, like, of course, earlier on in your career too, before UFC, just like, it was kind of separated, right? Your fights, they weren't like back to back or anything. But what was it like kind of getting in those fights on a big stage there before getting to these points now with UFC and then Ryzen? Like, was it helpful for you, or how did you kind of looking back on those ones?
I think it was helpful for me. I think every fight, whether it's a small venue with a small amount of people or a giant venue that's sold out, like I think everything has its own little positives that I can take from it and add to my future prep. I think those first few Bellator fights, those ones were pretty good tests for me because one of them I was coming off the contender
Right.
loss, which it's that was my first big loss. I'm like, man, I got choked out in that one. So like, you never know how people are gonna deal with going unconscious in a fight, whether that's knockout or submission, whatever it may be. Especially on a stage like that.
Hmm.
So that fight was a big test. The first one with Bellator, I was fighting at 45 and I fought a giant dude and I shouldn't have been fighting at 45, but I was like, no, I'm gonna be fine. And then I fought him and one knee cut me in three places, and I was like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm not this like I'm not big enough for these guys. So that's where I decided to start cutting some weight. So that affected my future weight classes. But just being on that stage and seeing the other people that come in on those cards and like the guys who are doing it right, like just being around them just kind of motivates me more. And just you see these are the people that you're seeing and you're meeting and you're being around and you're doing something right. Just keep trusting it.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, again, just the kind of the people around you, I think, have been really good in terms of, we mentioned Kai right there, mentioned Ricky, and you mentioned the small place that you're from. I'm actually in the Vancouver area myself, Vince, so we're from the same hometown, my friend.
Oh,
But
crazy.
I know Ricky as well. I haven't talked to him in a while, but of course he's got his fight coming up here. 2 days
Yep.
now? So that's gonna
Yeah,
be
2 days. Yeah,
exciting,
I'm
man.
actually headed over to the PI in like 4 hours ago.
Oh,
Cut weight.
all right. Nice, nice. So yeah, man, I mean, obviously doing his thing, looking to rebound himself, get back on track. But I want to, like, of course, both you guys in fighting, growing up together and, putting on these careers. Just like, how cool has that been as an experience? And then, of course, what you think, how he's looking right now ahead of this fight, but just how's it been kind of doing this whole thing together?
It's crazy. So I think he may have been. I was just about to go pro, and I can't remember how many amateur fights and then pro fights he had already had. And then we had found out that we were both doing it. We grew up together, and we're like our parents were really close, so we spent a lot of time together. And then just time and growing up and everything,
Hmm.
we spent a little more time apart, but we kind of kept in light contact.
Right.
And then sure enough, one day we found out we're both fighting, and we're like, oh shit. So like quickly, I made a trip over there and we trained, and we just talked about how like cool this was and how like exciting it is and how it feels right. And ever since then, we literally we share ideas, we bounce ideas, we it kind of helps us each manage our own feelings too, because it's we can kind of, how do we say, like we get a feeling of what it's personally like, and then it's what it's like for somebody on the outside who cares deeply
Mm.
about the person in the fight. So it's I think it's kind of a unique perspective for both of us that we really get to share and reassure ourselves and help refocus us and put our focus where it needs to be. And when he's winning, I'm winning. When I'm
Mm.
winning, he's winning. And I think that's just family. That's just how we do it. And right now he's just him getting it. Ricky doesn't change like the same way. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He stays focused, and that's right where he is. He's focused on the task at hand, and he's ready to go prove a point. And somebody like Ricky, I think he can, and I'm stoked for him. I think he's gonna just do his thing, and I can't wait for him to just get his hand raised. I can already see it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, he's always a dangerous guy, especially for loss is a scary Ricky to be fighting. So I don't envy Mario's position there. But
Yeah.
so will you be cornering then?
No, so since I did half my camp over, most of my camp over in
Right.
Japan, I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time in camp with him. So I think he's got Gianni, is it Vasquez?
I think so.
I think it's Vasquez.
Yeah.
For, sorry, Gianni, if I'm
Yes.
wrong. I
Sorry.
know I trained with Johnny a few times. He's a great dude, but yeah, so he's in the corner with him.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yep.
Cool, man. Cool. Yeah, looking forward to it for sure, and looking forward to what the future holds for you, Vince. But as it is a new year, happy New Year as well, man.
Oh,
But
cheers, happy New Year.
yeah, like obviously so many options, like we mentioned earlier too. And you got the momentum right now, like you mentioned. If you go back to the UFC, that's cool. If you continue this run here with Ryzen, maybe somewhere else, who knows what happens, right? It'll all be okay. It's just going with the flow, kind of. But
Mhm.
for you, like ultimate goal at this stage, like do you have something you're like, oh, I prefer this, maybe this would be most ideal? Or when you think of that thing, I don't know if you're a goal setting type of guy, but
Yeah.
when I throw that one at you, is there something that
Man, that's
stands out?
I juggle. I'm always juggling like multiple goals at the same time. Sometimes I think this year I really want to practice on catching one of those ones and really
Mhm.
focusing on it. So I don't know. I got a bunch of balls up in the air. I think my main thing is making sure wherever I can go be me the best and make the most money in order to take care of my family and the people I love. That's a goal. And I think that's kind of an organic one that's almost gonna as these offers come in to my lap, I'll be able to make that decision based on having those goals in mind. So I'm just gonna keep doing me and keep getting better and trust in the fact that I know something big and something good is coming my way.
I gotta ask you now, man, because of obviously the change we had at the end of last year with we talked about Bellator a little bit. Now with the PFL umbrella, like kind of an interesting thing. I've seen people say it's good for MMA, bad for MMA, limits the options. I think Dana even said that, that it's actually not good because of that reality. But I don't know. How do you feel being in your current position where, everything's kind of open for you, but in a way, there are less options now because Bellator's PFL, right? So, like, how do you
Yeah.
have you looking at that whole thing?
I think with PFL picking up Bellator, it more so solidifies their spot as somewhere significant that fighters can go. So that's kind of how I look at that. I know prior prior to this year, there were rumors of a bantamweight division, and my managers were saying that they were going to look at throwing my name in there. So that's another one of those balls
Yeah.
that I'm juggling. So if that's the one I catch and get a look at a little bit better, great. We'll see. I think it's good. I think it's good. The more MMA, the better, I
Yeah.
say. I think it gives it more chance for people to catch on somewhere and then really get hooked because they're going to see MMA for what it really is, and it's the most exciting sport in the world. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing. We'll see. We'll see.
I know. Cannot wait to see how just this whole year unfolds with all the MMA madness. It's always something new every year, man. So
Yeah.
it will be a good old fun time. But all right, Vince. Well, I appreciate the time so much, man. I don't want to keep you too long. But before I do let you go, since this is our first time talking, I got to ask you my favorite question to ask everybody the first time I talk to them, which is always the hardest one. So I'm going to leave you with it. But if you never got into MMA, man, what do you think you'd be doing instead?
Man, I don't know.
That's a common answer.
Yeah, I think MMA it saved me in terms of like I really needed something to focus on and something that I really cared about because I was just kind of prior to it I was just bouncing around working random jobs that kind of paid bills that I don't know were just they were just jobs and like
Right.
sometimes I'm good sometimes I'm not and so be it but I think at the end of the day I didn't really care about it so I think it gave me something to care about it gave me something to focus on and not only that but it helps me become a better person so with the person I am now and the person that I believe I can be going down this road. If I'm going down a different road where I don't have that, I
Mm.
can't see it going anywhere good. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm like the small town I'm from doesn't have a lot to offer and there's not a lot to cheer for.
Yep.
And there's like just nothing in terms of growth in as a person that would really be there for me. So in a good way anyways. So man, I'd be in trouble somewhere or doing nothing somewhere, which in my mind is just as bad as being in trouble somewhere. So I'm super grateful for MMA because man, I think about this a lot because my fiance does MMA too,
Mm.
and we just cannot picture our I wouldn't never even have met her without it.
Right.
So I man, I can't. It's not even in my realm of
Yes.
possibilities. You know what I mean? So which is also another reason why I can every day whether or not I'm getting paid what I believe I should be getting paid, like I can still go do what I would love to do and enjoy that in the process. And man, thank you MMA because I really have no clue where I'd be.
Yeah, well, thankfully we don't have to think about that too hard, but
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
always a fascinating thing to look back on. So I love asking people that one. But well, I mean, you don't think you'd be a streamer, gamer, or anything like that, a professional?
I do love some video games too, but like I'm also better at like talking to people and associating and networking and all because of MMA.
Right.
So
It all came from that.
yeah, it all came from that. So I'd be playing video games alone. It's not like I'd be streaming. So I don't, man, I do love some video games though. I'm a big like I just got a retro video game thing that plays like PS1 and PlayStation 2.
Oh,
I love all the
nice.
old games. I'm a straight nerd with it. My fiance kind of hates it because she's like, "Do you really need another video game?" Yeah, I do.
Yes, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Then what are you playing now? I gotta ask, man. I'm a big gamer too.
Right now, I just stopped playing Apex, which I was playing a lot.
That's my
One of my
game.
friends told me to play some Warzone, so I got Warzone back, but haven't really been playing that much. I've been playing. I'm still a Smash Bros. Person, so I play my Switch and I play some Smash Bros.
Nice.
And then I just started. I was running through all the God of Wars again, all the
Oh
old ones
wow.
on my little retro game thing. So
Got the setup, man. Nice.
yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I go hard for my video games. I love them.
Well, who's your Apex main? Last thing I'll leave it
Uh,
here.
who my main one? I've been using wow, I can't even not even think of her name now.
There's
You
like
got me on the
16
spot.
people now.
With the dark ooze stuff.
Oh, Catalyst. Yeah.
Catalyst. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Catalyst. That's my for whatever reason I just get the most kills with her and do the best. So I
Yes.
take it.
Catalyst is a good one for
Yeah,
sure.
who you rocking?
I'm a Rampart main most of the
Ah,
time.
okay, okay, nice.
Yeah, yeah. I've been getting into Conduit though. She's the new one, right? So
Okay, nice.
yeah, but no, I love Apex, so I'm right there
Yeah,
with you.
yeah, that's a classic.
For sure, man. But all right, Vince, I won't take up any more of your time now, man. I appreciate this so much. So great getting to chat with you again. Big congratulations on the awesome performance. Very excited to see what is next for you. Happy New Year again, man, and just wishing all the best going forward. And yeah, can't wait to see whatever it is next. And of course, we'll be in touch and wishing you all the
Yeah.
best, man.
Awesome. Sounds good, Drake. It was appreciate it, dude. It was good talking to you.
Next up, we welcome back the former Road FC Atomweight champion, YuRi Shim. All right. Well, it's great to
네,
see you, Yuri, and great to see you as well, Young June. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2024. Just
네.
how are things? How's the
새해
year
복,
started?
새해 복 많이 받으세요. 유리 씨, 뭐 올해 어때요? 뭔가 새로운 게 있나요?
네. 일단은 연말을 일본에서 보냈어가지고 되게
네,
좀 뜻깊은 해였던 것 같고요. 그리고 일단
네,
시작을 라이진이랑
음,
함께 하게 되어서 너무
네.
좋아요.
She spent her year end last year at Ryzen, and she's really happy that she's starting the year with Ryzen for first fight this year.
Yes, absolutely. Congratulations on that. I mean, we're very excited to see it. Excited to see you in the ring there, Yuri. I mean, I got to know, like, what was your reaction when they reached out to you, and like, how long have you known that this will be your first fight of 2024? Just tell me about, how exciting it's all been.
일단 라이징에서 싸우게 되셔서 되게 축하드리고요. 이렇게 데뷔하기에 된 걸 알게 된 지 얼마나 되셨고, 뭐 어떻게 준비를 했고, 네, 이런 변화에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시는지 간략하게 얘기해 주시면 좋을 것 같아요.
어, 사실은 원래 은퇴를 하고 선수 생활을 그만하려고 생각하고 있었는데
네,
갑작스럽게 이런 기회가 주어지게 되어서 일단은
네,
준비는 이제 차근차근 복귀를 했기 때문에 차근차근 이제 훈련을 시작하고 있고요.
네,
그리고 네,
네.
그렇습니다.
이거에 대해서 또 기분이 어떠신지도 좀 얘기해 주면 좋을 것 같아요.
일단 라이즈는 진짜 죽기 전에는 한 번은 뛰어보고 싶었던
네,
무대여서 그래서 지금 되게
네,
영광으로 생각하고 있고 진짜
네,
하루하루 너무 설레고 행복하게 보내고
네.
있습니다.
Um, okay, she was thinking of actually retiring at the beginning of this year, but she had this chance and she is training really hard, but not pushing herself too much. And she feels that rising is somewhere that I want to stand and fight before I die. So I think I feel she feels she's lucky and she's happy for this chance.
Absolutely. And I got to ask too, was the New Year's Eve show, was that your first time going to one of their events?
이번에 이제 연말 이벤트를 가서 보셨잖아요. 이게 라이징을 처음 보는 거였나요?
네, 그죠. 실제로는 처음
음,
보는 거였어요.
Yeah, it was her first time actually going into venue and watch Rising in front of her eyes.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you had a pretty good event to watch. I mean, did it meet your expectations? Was it as exciting as you kind of thought it was going to be? Like, how was it from, a fan perspective?
일단 격투기를 좋아하는 사람으로서 그 라이징 이벤트가 기대한 것만큼 좋았는지 여쭤보시네요.
네, 일단은 저는 항상 화면으로만 봐왔어서
음,
이렇게까지 관중이 많고 사람들이 많은지 몰랐었는데 가서 보니까
음,
여태까지 평생 살면서 봤던 경기장 중에
음,
가장 컸고 사람들도 진짜
네,
너무 많았어서 가슴이 막
네,
두근두근거리고 빨리 시합
아,
뛰고
네,
싶다는 생각이 좀 강해졌어요.
아, 네. She's only seen it on the screen, but actually she went there. She never seen any event that has more people than it, in more people than Rising. She felt how popular it is, and it was a big venue, and it was full of people, maybe the biggest she's ever seen. And she felt her heart beating, and she wants to go up there and fight as soon as possible.
Yeah, of course, a great experience to have, and it's going to be an even better one to get in there yourself. So it is very exciting indeed. But you mentioned possibly retiring there, Yuri. I mean, you fought so much in a short period of time, to start your career, and you're still very young. Just 29, right? But you've only fought once since 2019 with your 2021 title victory that we mentioned there. Why have you been thinking about retirement? Why have you been gone? Like, kind of, what's the update on what's been going on with you the last so many years?
자, 이제 질문을 어떤 걸 하셨냐면, 이제 일단 거기 갔다 온 경험이 되게 좋게 들린다. 그리고 뭐 당연히 흥분도 돼 있고 앞으로 기대도 많이 될 텐데 궁금한 게 있는데 이렇게 2019년에 데뷔한 걸로 알고 있고 되게 많이 싸웠고 되게 많은 경험을 쌓았는데 아직도 어리다. 그런데 왜 은퇴를 하려고 생각했는지 자기는 좀 의아하다. 이렇게 물어보시네요.
일단은 원래 챔피언전을 준비할 때 제가
음,
무릎 부상이 좀 있었어서 이제
음,
시합이 끝나고 나서 부상 치료도 좀 하고 쉬게
음,
되었었는데
음.
운동을 쉬면서 이제 회의감이 좀 많이 들었던 것 같아요. 일단은
네.
격투기 선수가 돈이 안 되다 보니까
네.
네, 금전적으로
네.
좀 힘들었던 것도 있고
네.
이제는 목표를 다 이루고 하니까 이제 나 뭘 해야
네.
되지 하는 그런 생각이 좀 들어서
아,
네, 이제
네.
그래서 그만하고 싶다는 생각이 좀 들었어요.
네. Okay, after she won the World FC title, she had an injury, so she had a surgery and she had recovery. And as she stopped training for a while, she felt, she looked back and she was having a hard time financially, and becoming World FC champion doesn't really make you rich. So she accomplished what she wanted, but she was still living a hard life. That's why she was thinking of retiring and looking for something else.
Okay. All right. Understandable there. But now we have this great opportunity with Ryzen. So, like, I'm curious,
Mhm.
are you going to hope to be more active and kind of like reignite, restart the career a little bit with this reign of fight? Are we going to kind of see how it goes? What's kind of the thought process, I guess, going forward with your career now?
자, 이제 뭐 그런 생각 안 하셔도 되는 게 라이징이 되게 유리 씨에게 되게 잘해줄 것 같고 좋은 기회가 왔는데 이제 다시 커리어를 시작한다면 이제 뭐 어떤 식으로 시작할 건지 이제 뭐 어떤 계획들을 가지고 있는지 궁금하다고 물어보셨어요.
일단은 레나는 일본에서 완전 대스타로 알고
네,
있고 그리고 이제
네,
저랑 전적도 2배 정도 차이가 나는 걸로 알고는 있는데
네,
저한테는 사실 잃을 게 없는 사람이라 저는
네,
완전 저는 마음이 편하거든요. 그래서
네,
50대 50의 그 로또를 가지고 있다는 생각으로 그래서 되게
네,
설레이고
네.
이번에 이기면은 저는 로또 1등 당첨되는 거랑 마찬가지라고 생각해서 네, 독하게
네.
준비하고 있습니다.
네. Rena is a superstar in Japan, and she's fight like twice more than me. And here I am. I have nothing to lose, so I don't feel that much pressure. I kind of feel like I'm buying a lottery ticket, and I can win or I could lose. I don't really care, but I want to give a good fight for the fans, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a really big, first debut opponent to have in Ryzen, a very big opponent to have coming back, after
Mm,
your time away. So it's a really cool spot. And yeah, like you said,
mm,
nothing to lose really. So, I mean, like, how exciting is that for you to fight somebody like her? And I mean, I'm sure you've been watching her
mm,
just as she's had her great career. And like, what do you think of her as an opponent and how great it is for, you to fight again in Ryzen, but not only that, fight somebody like
mm.
her?
자, 뭐 비슷한 질문인데 레나가 이제 데뷔전을 하기에 엄청 큰 상대잖아요. 되게 유명하고 네, 커리어도 많이 쌓은 상대고 이런 기회를 뭐 잘 잡은 것 같고 아까 말씀하신 대로 뭐 잃을 것도 없지만 뭐 어떻게 준비해야 되겠다던가 뭐 이런저런 기분이 든다 이런 걸 좀 자세하게 얘기해 달라고 하시네요.
일단은 레나가 타격가이고 가장
네,
잘하는 거를 레나도 할 것 같아서 근데
네,
저도 잘하고
네,
타격에서는 밀려본 적이 없어서 저는 자신 있기
네,
때문에 그래서
네,
일단은 타격적인 거를 좀 보완을 많이 하려고 훈련을
네,
그쪽으로 좀 많이 하고 있고요.
네,
그리고 제 기분은 뭐 그냥 진짜 독하게 해야겠다.
네. Uh, okay, she's a striker. She's an accomplished striker, and I'm a striker also. And I've never been beaten by a striker, so I'm really confident. So I want to win her. I want to win her in a strike battle too. So I'm trying really hard for this.
Yes, and we of course love to watch those striking battles,
Mhm.
and this looks to be a good one. And it's well documented, like you said, that she is a striker coming from her shoot boxing background, Yuri. And it's a story that everyone tells all the time when we talk about Reina. But for you, I gotta know, like, how did you get into fighting in the first place, Yuri? How soon, how young were you when you first discovered combat sports and got into things? What's the story?
음, 자, 뭐, 레나가 슛복싱 백그라운드가 있으니까 타격전을 잘하는 건 너무나도 잘 알려진 사실인데, 네, 유리 씨도 시작은 어떤 걸로, 언제쯤인지, 어떤 타격 종목으로 수련을 시작했는지 궁금하대요.
저는 처음엔 우슈 산타로
네,
시작을
네,
했고요. 산타
네,
선수로
나이,
이제 하다 보니까
네, 네,
타격에서는 모든 종목을 다 뛰어보고 싶다 생각해서
네,
산타로 시작은 했지만 복싱,
네,
킥복싱,
네,
뭐 무에타이, 뭐
네.
종합격투기 모든 타격의 종목은 다 시합을 뛰었던 것 같아요.
그러면 시작한 건 몇 살 정도였죠?
시작은 저는 21살이요.
21살, 네.
네.
우리나라 나이 21살. Okay, she started when she was 19. She started out with Wushu Santa, and then she wanted to accomplish all the striking genre. So she did boxing, she also did kickboxing, and she also did Muay Thai, and then she challenged for MMA for the last.
Absolutely. And what was it that drew you towards Wushu and Sanda? Was it just your own interest you discovered it? Did somebody tell you, hey, this would be a cool thing for you to try out? Like, what got you to that spot in the first place?
그럼 우슈 산타는 어떤 계기로 시작하게 됐어요?
일단은 저는 군인이 되고 싶어서 체육관에
네,
가게 됐는데 군인이 되려고
네,
체력을 기르려고 체육관에 가게 되었는데요. 근데
네,
갔는데 저희 관장님께서 산타 선수이셔서 산타
네,
대회가 있다. 한번
네,
해보느냐 해서 저도 그냥 취미로 처음에는 시작을
네.
했습니다.
네. Okay, in the first place, she wanted to be a soldier, for Korean Army. And then, so she wanted to build some physical ability for the physical test for the army. So, as she started training, her master, her teacher was Santa, national Santa fighter, a national team fighter. So, she started out as a leisure sports, but as she got into it, she went to the fights and she won the fights. That's how she started the career.
Okay. All right. Very cool. And did you adapt pretty quickly or was it kind of scary at first? Like, what was your first impressions when you started out? Was it, you were all in on it or kind of, was it tough at first, I guess?
처음부터 잘 적응을 했어요? 아니면 이제 적응하거나 이제 시합을 뛰면서 좀 어려운 점이 있었어요?
아니요. 처음 뛰었는데 너무 재밌어서
네,
그래서 이거 군대 가는 거 조금 미루고
네,
어, 하는 데까지 조금 더 해보고 가자 하고 시작했어요.
네. Uh, okay, for her first fight, she had a lot of fun and she was thinking, okay, I'm postponing going to the army and, put it away for a while. And she wanted to challenge as far as it goes. That's how she started out.
All right. Well, it worked out pretty good. You've become one of the best atom weights in the world and, won that title in your last fight. So, going from that beginning point, Yuri, to then winning the Road FC title, like when
Mm.
you look at it and remember that moment of winning the title, like what did it feel like? Was that kind of what you had hoped to do when you started, or was it just kind of you were going along for fun? You're like, hey, I got a belt now. How do you kind of look back on, your last
Mm.
fight when you did win the belt?
Good question again. I didn't get the point though. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, just kind of
Sure.
how crazy it is for her to look from the beginning of her career to when she won the title last
Mm-hmm.
time, and what it felt like, and that experience
Okay.
overall.
I got it. 자, 그러면 이제 그렇게 커리어를 우슈 산타부터 시작해서 쭉 이제 섭렵을 하고 군대를 미루고 로드 FC 챔피언까지 됐는데 이걸 다 이루고 나서 기분이 어땠는지 네, 한번 알려달라고 하시네요.
일단은 챔피언이 되고 싶다는 얘기는 데뷔할
음,
때부터 얘기를 하고
음,
데뷔를
네,
했는데,
네,
이거를 진짜 이루게 되어서, 이게 진짜
네,
챔피언 되고 나서도 믿기지가
네,
않았고,
네,
그리고 진짜 하면 되는구나 하는
음,
그런
음,
긍정적인 마음이
네.
조금 많이 생겼습니다.
아, okay, when she debuted in MMA, she's been telling people, she's telling journalists that she's going to be the champion. And when she accomplished it, at first place, she couldn't believe it. But later on, she's thinking, okay, whatever I do, I try hard, I can make it. That's how she felt.
Absolutely. It's definitely great proof to have that thing right in front of you, like the belt, of course. And do you still have the belt, Yuri, or do they take it back? Like, where is it now? Do you
Uh-huh.
still have it?
They took it, they took it back, but I'm gonna ask her. 그러면 그 벨트를 아직도 갖고 계세요? 아니면 이제 반납을 하셨나요?
아, 만나뵙습니다.
네네. Yeah, she gave him back.
Ah, geez, not cool. Gotta keep
Uh,
the prize. But,
uh,
all right. Well, I mean, obviously is a great accomplishment, especially, in
mm,
Korea for MMA, Yuri, the
mm,
accomplishment that you had there. And now getting onto
mm.
Ryzen and representing your country. I'm curious, like, is it important for you to be a strong representative, for South Korea and show just the world that, the MMA fighters out of your country? Very talented. Of course, we have Sohee Ham is one of the best out there.
Mhm.
There's plenty to go around, and yourself included. But how important of a thing is that for you when you get on these big stages like Ryzen?
뭐 당연하겠지만 이제 일단 뭐 여러 가지 이제 업적에 대해서 축하를 드리고 벌써 이룬 게 좀 많은데 이런 걸 하면서 이제 내 개인적인 뭐 것도 중요하지 뭐 당연한 얘기겠지만 우리나라를 대표한다 뭐 함서희 선수도 있고요 그런 유명한 선수들처럼 우리나라를 대표하는 그런 선수가 되는 것이 중요하다고 생각을 하나요?
네. 저는 예전에는 사실 제2의 함소이가 되고 싶다라는 생각이 조금
네,
있었는데,
네.
아닌 것 같아요. 제2의 함소이가 아니라 그냥 제1의 심유리가 되고 싶어요.
네. Okay, yeah, of course I want to represent my country with my with all my ability and accomplishment and before I wanted to be the second Sohee Ham, but now I feel like I should become the first YuRi Shim.
That is a great way to put it. I love that. Yeah, of course, carve out the own journey, and plenty of opportunities to do so. And on this road, let's see what I did there. This road to this point here in Ryzen, Yuri. I'm curious, like, what you would say your biggest learning experience has been so far in your career.
이제 이걸 다 배워 나가면서 어 가장 컸던 경험 같은 걸 좀 얘기해달라고 하는데 구체적으로 뭐 이런 걸 하면서 가장 많이 배웠다든가 누구한테서 많이 배웠다든가 이런 경험이 있으면 좀 공유하면 좋겠다고 얘기해 주시네요.
저는 일단은 저희 감독님이 가장 그런데요.
음,
저희
네,
감독님은 항상 운동할 때 생각하면서 운동하라고 이런
네,
식으로 많이 시키고, 그래서
네,
운동할 때는 생각 없이 운동하는 거를 되게 싫어하셔서 왜 내가
네,
오늘 맞았는지, 왜 내가 이
네,
기술이 통하지 않았는지 이런
네,
것들을 전부 다 생각하고 적어오게끔
네,
시키기도 하셨고, 그래서
네,
저는 옛날에 운동선수라고 하면 그냥 무조건 열심히 하고 체력
네,
기르고 이러면 되는 줄 알았는데,
네,
원장님을 만나고 나서 운동은
아,
정말 생각을 많이 하면서 해야 되는구나 하고 그
네.
습관이 많이 생겼습니다.
No. She has a habit of thinking of how she trains and what she trains because her coach has been telling her, you gotta think when you train. Without even if you train without thinking, you're not gonna improve. So he made her write down what when she gets beaten up, when she does something. And then before I started training like that, she was thinking, okay, the fighters, you just go relentless, they don't think. But nowadays, okay, fighters should think and fighters should think to improve. That's how she feels right now.
Absolutely. And so, with that in mind, I'm assuming it's safe to assume that you would say MMA is a more mental than physical sport, Yuri. Is that fair?
저 MMA는 그러니까 피지컬도 있지만 멘탈도 더 중요하다 이 말이 맞는지요? 라고 물어보는데요.
네, 그리고 이제
음.
생각하면서 머리 써서 싸워야 된다는 거를 좀 많이 배웠습니다.
Also think smart to be a good fighter.
Yes, of course, always good to be smart out there and do the right things and to make it all happen. But speaking of the mental side of things and visualization, Yuri, with the Reina fight, I gotta wonder, when you look at it and think about it now, I'm sure you've been imagining things. How exactly do you predict and think that it's going to play out? Do you think it will be a good old striking fight and you get the knockout? Like, when you have been thinking about it in your head, what does it look like?
자, 레나전을 상상해보고 이제 눈앞에서 어떻게 펼쳐질지 그려보면 보통 대충 어떤 그림이 나올 것 같으세요?
일단은 뭐 타격에서 제가 쉽게 밀리지는 않겠다라는 생각이 조금 예상은 되고요. 뭐 당연히 여태까지 만나본 선수들 중에서 가장 강한 상대라고 생각을 해서 쉬운 싸움은 아니라고는 생각은 하지만 그래도 못 이길 싸움은 또 아니라고 생각합니다.
Okay, she's a striker and I'm a striker too. So, but I don't think she's gonna outstrike me, and it's not gonna be an easy fight. She's definitely the strongest fight that I ever fight, but I'm good enough to not to be outstrucken by her.
Absolutely, and that's why it's such an exciting fight, and we're so excited to see you back, Yuri. So with that in mind, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I appreciate it so much. Congratulations again on getting this opportunity, and I'm wishing you the best of luck with it. Cannot wait to watch it. Very excited to see you fight in general, but this is a great one, so very happy for you, and I'm wishing you the best for it, and wishing you the best with 2024 in general. Happy New Year once again, and just thanks so much for taking the time to chat here, and can't wait to see it.
감사합니다. 새해 복 많이 받으세요.
Thank you. Have a great year. Happy New Year too.
And last but not least is the rising featherweight contender himself, Suguru Nii. All right, Suguru, man, it's great to see you. Congrats on the big win recently. Just happy, what is it, Tuesday here? How are you doing, man?
ニー選手、大晦日の試合はおめでとうございました。今、そちらは1月の、
ありがとうございます。
火曜日だと思うんですけれども、試合後、どんな感じで過ごされてますか？
試合後は、多分、一日も休まない毎日でますね。
毎日お仕事ですか？
いや、お酒飲んでます。
お酒飲んでます。はい、わかりました。So ever since the fight, I have been drinking heavily every single day.
All right, as you should. Well deserved, well earned, man. It was a great performance, of course. And I got to wish you a happy birthday as well. I know you had the birthday a couple days ago, so it's just been a big old party since then, right? Did you do anything specific to celebrate?
ニー選手も誕生日も迎えられて、大晦日の勝利と誕生日で、もうパーティー三昧の日々かと思うんですが、誕生日は何か特別なことをされましたか？
いや、もう祝勝会と誕生日が続いちゃってるんで、特にそんな誕生日だからっていうのではなくて、ずっとお祝いって感じですかね。
Yeah, so it's just been, a celebration, and then my birthday became part of the celebration of my fight. So there's nothing specific that I did for my birthday. It's just been partying throughout.
Awesome stuff, man. Yeah, it's fantastic timing with, the holidays and then your birthday and then the win mixed in there. And I mean, let's just talk about it, man. I mean, one of the best knockouts of the year, really, to close out, especially getting the knockout over Dominator there in the second round. I mean, like, how awesome of a feeling was that, man? Especially at the end of the year and you got this winning streak going. Like, tell me just about the feeling of, getting a highlight reel finish like that one, especially on the biggest stage. And then right before your birthday, just the whole thing had to be amazing for you.
本当にニー選手にとってタイミング的に、大晦日っていうものがあります、新年っていうものがあります、誕生日っていうものを迎える前に、大晦日で素晴らしい、本当に今年一番のノックアウトじゃないかって言わせるぐらいの素晴らしい KO で、2ラウンドドミネーター選手を沈めたわけなんですが、 もう一連の流れ、その
はい
試合の KO をしてからの、この一連のこの上げ上げっていう感じは、ニー選手、その試合終
はい。
わった後、どんな気持ちでしたか？どんな感情でしたか？
が、あんな大きい舞台でやったことないんで、プレッシャーがすごくて、いや、もう勝ってほっとしたじゃないですけど、嬉しいってよりも、ほっとしたが大きかったですね。
Yeah, so I've never fought on such a platform, such a big, huge platform before. So the pressure was immense. I was feeling it for sure. So after I got the win, I wasn't. It was more relief. It was more of a sense of relief than joy. So I just felt, after that, I felt like I was just completely relieved from all the pressure.
All right, man. Yeah, totally understandable. Big stage, and with the winning streak going and the opponent, all these things lining up for it. And I gotta wonder, man, like watching the fight play out, it seemed like kind of the story for Dominator was, he was having kind of success with his leg kicks throughout the first round, and then obviously that kind of led to his downfall, and you caught him there. So I'm curious, like, do you think he was overdoing his leg kick because he maybe was falling in love with it? And were you surprised he didn't try to go to the ground? Because I thought he would, try and kind of take things to the ground with you.
あの試合を振り返ってみて、思うんですけれども、
はい
その1ラウンド、ドミネーター選手は結構こうローキック、カーフキックの方で、ペースをつかんでいて、で、それに、ニー選手が合わせた、感じになったと思うんですけれども、ドミネーター選手は今考えてみたら、そのカーフキックをちょっと乱発した感じって、しますか？逆にドミネーター選手がこう寝技で組みに来ないで打撃で、勝負をしたっていうことに対して何か驚きはありましたか？
多分、ローキック、カーフキック自分めちゃくちゃ効いてたんで、で、それ相手も多分、相手が打ってるから相手が一番分かってたと思うんですけど、それで多分ドミネーター君は気づいてなかったと思うんですけど、その、蹴りを蹴って効いてるっていうので、どんどん距離がちょっとずつ近づいてきたんですよ。それを僕はずっと感じてたんで、僕の右のパンチのなんかビビり方もすごい異常だったんで、いつもカウンター打つのに全然カウンター持ってこないから、多分このちょっとした近づいてるのも多分気づいて、ビビってることで気づいてないんだなっていうのが分かってたんで、で、その首に行かないのも、多分蹴りが効いてるから僕の右手のパンチを防いできて、寝技に行くより安牌だと思ったから、多分立ち技でしか来ないなっていうのも伝わったんで、なおさら僕はその右のパンチ当てれる自信があって、2ラウンド目当てに行きました。
Yeah, to be honest, those calf kicks were hurting me pretty bad. They were very damaging, and he knew it. He knew for sure. I knew it that those calf kicks were successful. Now, what I think he didn't know was as he was being more successful with his calf kicks, the distance became closer inch by inch, and he didn't know it, but I did because he was getting so comfortable landing these kicks. And I felt that throughout the fight, he had a mad respect for my right hand. So he didn't even attempt to counter it. He didn't even attempt. He was doing everything he could to avoid my right hand. So I think his leg kicks were successful. He didn't want to come close. So he didn't realize that the distance was changing little by little. He was getting closer. The fact that he didn't try to shoot in was a message that he was being successful with his leg kicks, and he did not want to get hit with my right hand. So I think he played it safe. And him playing it safe because he knew he was successful at what he was doing led to that ending for me being able to land my right hand.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very fascinating to watch it, unfold that way. And, seeing you realizing it in real time was very cool, and obviously capped off brilliantly, as perfectly as you could have asked it for. So with that in mind, Suguru, like, where does it rank amongst your most satisfying wins, man?
ニー選手がそのように、いろいろと距離のこととかも、狙い進ませた右で勝ったわけなんですけれども、ノックアウトは非常に素晴らしい形で終わったんですが、ニー選手ご自身のキャリアを振り返ってみて、KO っていうものを満足度で言えば、ランキング的にどれくらい上位に入ってきますか？
大晦日の舞台で いうのもあったんで、やっぱり一番嬉しいかもしれないです、今までで。反響も今までで一番でかかったんで。
Yeah, I think, given the situation, given everything, everything that was around, I've never fought in such a big crowd. I've never fought in front of so many people. New Year's Eve, a great platform. I would have to give it, that knockout was the most satisfying performance of my career.
I mentioned the winning streak. It's 5 in a row now, 6 including the grappling match, the victory you had over Omigawa. I'm curious, like, what would you say has kind of been the key to the current winning streak, Suguru? Is there something that stands out to you when you'd be like, you made a change maybe before you got on this roll, or what would you say it's been?
今回のフィニッシュで、連勝記録を5に伸ばしました。グラップリングの尾川選手の、勝利を入れたら6連勝になります。
はい。
ニー選手のこの連勝のコツとか、何がきっかけで、連勝できるようになったのか、振り返ってみて何か意図的に変えたとか、意識を変えたとかっていうのがあります。
僕、その6連勝する前に負けた山本空戦、ライジンのやつがあるんですけど、僕3年間勝ててなくて、で、そこから、僕、それまで格闘技をほぼ習ったことなくて、もう独学で、試合に出てたんで、で30超えて、コロナの時期になって、クラブ責任の仕事できなくなったんで、最後、格闘技本気でやろうかなと思って、その3年間連敗してる、し終わった後ぐらいに、初めてその打撃コーチ、レスリングコーチ、寝技のコーチって全部自分でパーソナルトレーニングでコーチをつけて、その格闘技を初めて習ったみたいな感じですかね。まあ、基礎はみんなで打ち込みとかはしてたんですけど、ちゃんとした基礎を習ったことがなかったから、その格闘技を習い始めて、半年ぐらいから、その1試合目、3年ぶりに勝つことができて、そこから6連勝できたんで、なんか僕的には、その2年前の話を、2年前以降の連敗の話とか、試合の話をされても、格闘技を習ってなかった自分っていう意識だから、なんか何を変わったっていうか、本当今はアマチュアの選手の気持ちで、どんどんこれからも強くなるなっていうのがありますね。習い始めたばっかみたいな感覚なんで。
Yeah, so to tell you the truth, when I fought in Ryzen, I lost against Yamamoto, Sora Yamamoto. Up until then, I had no wins in the past 3 years leading up to that point. And I'm just going to be honest, I kind of taught myself up to that point. I really never had a coach. I never trained proper MMA up until that point. So right around that fight, COVID hit. I couldn't stay active as a club security guard where I was making my money. So I decided to kind of really focus, give my MMA career a last run, and decided to really train. So I hired all personal coaches for for my striking, wrestling, grappling, and I actually trained for real after the Yamamoto fight. So that's when after about 6 months of real training, I got my first win in 3 years. And, I've been able to been on a 6-fight win streak since. So when you ask me about what I changed before my winning streak, I don't know because I haven't really trained. And I guess my answer would be I actually started training. And I feel like an amateur because I just started training and I feel like I've got nothing but potential and growth. Because I've got so much more to learn and so much more to offer. So I feel like a beginner. I feel fresh.
I mean, that's incredibly impressive, man, to have gotten to where you are, up until that point without, really proper training. So I can imagine that this has got to be just very exciting for you. And like you said, getting that relief off your shoulders of this past win and just continuing to grow. How exciting is it to think about where you can potentially continue to get better and better with?
今、このように、ニー選手がアマチュアみたいな感じでどんどん伸びしろしかないっていうことは、おそらくご自身にとってもすごく期待があってワクワクするような感じだと思うんですけれども、ここからニー選手が伸びるとしたら、どんなところが特に伸びると思いますか、選手として。
いや、本当もう打撃も寝技も、レスリングも、その試合、ちょっと前まで練習するんですけど、本当に 試合ギリギリまで強くなったなっていう感覚もあったから、どこが伸びるっていうよりも、その技術的には僕、いろんな選手より劣ってるのは自分で分かってるんで、でもその技術を伸ばせるっていうのも感じてるから、どこがっていうよりも全体的に全部伸びると思ってるから、本当にどこがとかないですけどね。
Yeah, so I honestly feel that I don't really have any specific area that's going to particularly grow on me because I feel that I'm getting better in my striking, grappling, and wrestling, all aspects of the game. Even for my previous fight, I was training right until before my fight, and I still felt like I was getting better and I was evolving even right before my fight. So I can't really. I know that I lack in like technical stuff. I lack in technical my technique compared to other fighters, but I know that I can get better, and I feel that there's so much to learn. So I don't really have anything specific that I feel is going to grow. I think I'm just going to grow as a whole.
Certainly fair. And, with like all these things we're talking about in consideration, Suguru, like you've been fighting as a pro though for 10 years now, man. And like, does it feel crazy to be able to say that, especially, after you've kind of taken this turn that we've been talking about?
まあ振り返ってみると、ニー選手が今初めてトレーニング、本気のトレーニングを始めて、まだ伸びしろがある。とはいえ、もうすでにキャリア10年の、選手なんですけれども、10年経った今、さらにこうやって伸びるっていうことに対して、どういう気持ちなんでしょうか、心境というか。
なんか衰えみたいのが感じないから、なんかその 10年、多分僕 MMA 始めても13年目なんですけど、10年間は本当にその東京の欲にまみれてじゃないですけど遊びまくってたんで、その10年間を換算しなくて、33歳だからもうラストスパートっていう気持ちもなくて、本当にもう20歳で格闘技始めて、これから伸びしろしかないみたいな感覚だから、そのベテラン、その10年以上やってるっていう感覚もないし、って感じですかね。
Yeah, so I don't feel like I'm aging at all. I don't feel like any deterioration of my physical abilities. I still feel like I'm young and strong. Like I said, it's been 13 years since I started getting involved in MMA. But again, in the 13 years, at the same time, I was being poisoned by all the activities Tokyo and all the other temptations that Tokyo has to offer. So I spent all that past 13 years with those temptations won. So, I don't feel like I'm on my last stretch because I'm 33 years old. I feel like I'm still 20. I feel like I'm still just starting. So, I don't really feel like I'm veteran at all because I'm not. I'm just learning. I'm just getting started. I feel like I have so much more to offer.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new version of you for sure, man. And we're kind of seeing the proof of that, obviously. And I'm curious now, like, would you say that the Yamamoto loss was your biggest learning experience, or would you say it was something before that?
今の話を聞いて、ちょっと整理させていただくと、山本空選手に負けたことが、一つのターニングポイントになったっていう理解でよろしいですか？それとももうその前に。
そうです。はい。もう山本空に選手に負けてからいろいろ変わりましたね。ああいう負け方をしてしまったんで。
Yeah, you're spot on. The Sora Yamamoto fight is definitely my turning point. Losing to, Yamamoto like in that style, made me feel that I had to change him.
Absolutely, man. So, I mean, we just keep on looking forward, take what you've learned and continue to put it into the growth like we've been talking about, man. So I got to wonder now, like, when you look at what's next, Suguru, like, when do you want to get back in there? Do you have somebody in mind that you want to fight? What are you kind of thinking to kickstart 2024 here?
ニー選手は、こういう素晴らしい連勝中で、あんな勝ち方もして、次誰かと戦いたい、何か目的があったり、今年はどういった年、誰かと戦いたいっていうものありますか？
クレベル選手をタップアウトさせるか締め落としたいですね。
Yeah, I would like to choke out Kleber unconscious or make him tap.
All right, I would love to see that one. Is there any specific reason you want Kleber? Obviously, former champ and very talented, but any specific reason other than that?
当然元チャンピオンで実力あるっていうことなんですけど、何か他に個人的な理由があったりしますか？
いや、まあ、共通点を無理やり言えば、クレベル選手もクラブセキュリティやってたんですよ、名古屋で。あと、なんか、雷神ってやっぱりすごいエンターテインメントで、ストーリー性とかもすごい、作るのがうまいなっていうのも思ってて、だから僕がなんか、今ここで朝倉未来選手とやりたいって言っても、意味わかんないカードだし、まあ、平本蓮選手と寝技対打撃だったら僕やりたいとか言えるんですけど、なんかやっぱり選手一人一人ストーリーとか、なんかこうだと面白いなっていうところは絶対あった方が僕はいいと思ってて、その中でクレベル選手って寝技で負けたことがないんで、で、ライジンってあんまりグラップラーがいないと思ってるから、そのクレベル選手に寝技で勝つ選手が出てきたっていうストーリーを作りたいし、そこから僕もライジンのフェザー級チャンピオンのベルト取りたいっていうのがあります。
Yeah, so if I had to like force myself for a reason, for us to be relatable in some sort of way, I would say that Kleber used to be a club security guard in Nagoya. So we're both security guards, right? So the battle security guard is something that if I were forced to mention. But with all that said, I think Ryzen is very good at telling the story as an entertainment content producer. And so like for me, it's really easy to say, oh, I want to fight Mikura Asakura, but there's no story behind it. It won't make any sense. People can't really jump on that hype because there's nothing there. So I can say Asakura, but it won't make sense. So with all that said, I think, Ryzen's great because each fighter has their character, their story. And, it's about mixing these stories, individual stories together and continue on, to tell a story, to sell that story. So, for me, Kleber has never been tapped out before in an MMA fight. I think Ryzen lacks in grapplers in the featherweight division. And I just want to be that guy who tapped out Kleber. And I think it makes sense. And if I can do that, I think I deserve to be in that title shot line somewhere. So in all meetings, its story makes sense.
I think you're completely spot on there, man, and would love to see it. It makes sense and all everything you said. Great timing, especially with the title fight coming up. Hopefully you can get that, man. And with that in mind too, like Suzuki versus Kanehara, that's going to be the next title fight. So I'm sure you'll be watching that one closely. But do you have a prediction for it?
タイトルを目指しているニー選手なんですけれども、次、鈴木選手と、金原選手が発表されました。この試合はどのように、分析してどちらが勝つと思いますか？
多分みんな同じような予想すると思うんですけど、1ラウンドだったら鈴木千尋選手で、2ラウンド目、3ラウンド目以降って伸びれば伸びるほど、そのテクニックがある金原選手が有利になると思います。僕は鈴木選手に個人的に勝ってほしいですけど、やっぱり世代交代じゃないですけど、やっぱりああいう勢いのある人がチャンピオンだとみんなも挑戦したいって思いが強くなると思うんで、狙いやすいっていうか。
Yeah, so I think like my prediction is going to be similar to many people, most people I would say. But, if it were to end in the early rounds or the first round, it'd definitely be Suzuki. The longer the fight drags on, it's going to be Kanehara with the experience and his pacing and whatnot. So I think it's just going to be similar to everybody. But personally, I would want Suzuki to win. I know that people, the torch needs to be passed on to the next generation. But, if we have a champion that's young and vocal and active as he is, it's worth challenging the belt for. It's easier. It makes challenging that belt a lot easier, and it makes the division more active. So in all meetings, I do think that Suzuki should remain champion.
It's going to be a fun one. Can't wait to see it, man. And, can't wait to see what is next for you, Suguru. So I won't leave you. I won't keep you here for too much longer, man. But I got to ask, of course, as it is the new year as well, I know you'll want to hopefully, ideally, if timing can line up, become champion this year, man. But in terms of overall goals that you have in 2024, doesn't just have to be fight related, but what are kind of some things you want to check off the list this year before we get to 2025?
2024年は、ニー選手にとって素晴らしい年で、あると思うんですけれども、具体的に、格闘技関係じゃなくてもいいんですけども、2024年の個人的な目標、2025年につなげるため、今年はどんな目標を立てたいと思いますか？
今年はそのベルトを狙える位置に行きたいっていうのあるんですけど、そのためにもその勝ち方、格闘技に関しては勝ち方こだわって、僕、去年の対戦相手全員失神させてるんですよ。寝技も立ち技も MMA の試合は。だから今年も僕はそこが売りだと思ってるから、その倒しきる。去年サッカーボリ蹴りしたりしちゃって、なんかいろいろ言われたこともあったんですけど、僕は本当に審判に止められるまで生き切るっていう、で、そこの派手さを売りにしてるんで、今年戦う相手も全員失神させて、で、格闘技以外の全体的な部分では、やっぱ僕はその強さだけを求めるっていうよりも、どっちかで言ったらそれこそさっきも名前出したんですけど、朝倉未来選手みたいに、その知名度とか上げて、その格闘技を引退した時でも、その自分で過去を自慢する、俺格闘技でもともと強かったんだ、ライジン出てたんだとかじゃなくて、その周りの人がいつまでも、あの人格闘技でもすごかったんだよって言ってくれるような、その格闘技以外での知名度もこれからつけていきたいと思うんで、その2024年は、この踏み台じゃないけど、その土台をしっかり作りたいなと思ってます。
Yeah, so obviously, I would like to position myself this year where I will have a good chance at the title shot sometime for next year. I'm not in a rush, but my motto in fighting is about how you win. And if you look back at all my opponents from last year, I have made them unconscious. I have made every single one of my opponents unconscious, including the grappling matches. So I think that's my staple. Everybody who fights me is going to get knocked out or going to sleep. And I've done that last year. Every single one of them. Obviously, I had some like backlash from that soccer ball kick. Maybe it was too much, but that's my style. I'm gonna go in there until the referee stops it, and I'm committed in knocking out my opponents. And I think one of my goals for this year is to make everyone go to sleep as well. And on top of that, that's gonna be my statement. Whoever fights me, they're gonna go to sleep, and I want to go with that. But outside of fighting, I don't want to be successful with just a fighter. Like I mentioned Mikuru Asakura's name earlier, but I want to gain that fame. I want to make myself wear a position where I'm going to grow up being an old man talking about the past, saying that, oh, I used to be a badass fighter. I used to fight for Rizin. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy, a successful person that people point out to me and say, hey, he's also a badass fighter. So I don't want to be that guy in the past. I want to, as long as a successful MMA career, I want to be successful outside of fighting as well. So I think those two this year, use this year to build my base, the structure of my career outside of fighting.
Certainly some good goals to have, man. And, as fans, we love the violence, so I hope you can continue achieving that one, sir. But on that note, Suguru, I will let you go, man. But, of course, I got to wish you a happy birthday once again, and congratulations on all the success you've had on this winning streak and the great knockout to close out the year, of course. But I appreciate you taking the time so much, man. It means a lot. It was great getting to chat with you, and, cannot wait to see you back in there. Best of luck with everything, and just thanks so much for the time, man. Arigatou gozaimashita.
ありがとうございます。またよろしくお願いします。